The emergency klaxons had been wailing for 17 standard hours across the Galactic Council's command center on Zerion Prime. High Counselor Vextar's 4 eyes darted between the holographic displays, showing red warnings cascading across every sector of known space. The readings were impossible, yet undeniably real. "Status report," Vextar commanded, his voice cutting through the chaos. Counselor Zeph, the Altarian representative, floated closer on her anti-gravity platform. "The humans have vanished, High Counselor. All 847 human colonies, their homeworld, Earth, their deep space stations, everything, gone without a trace." "That's impossible," growled General Krex, his reptilian features twisted in disbelief. "Our surveillance networks monitor every inhabited system. Species don't just disappear." But they had. 3 days ago, humanity had been the youngest member of the Galactic Council, barely 2 centuries into their space age. They were considered primitive by most standards. No energy beings, no hive minds, no reality manipulation technology. Just stubborn bipeds with an unusual knack for adaptation and an irritating tendency to ask inconvenient questions. The Council had been debating the human problem for weeks. Earth's representatives had been pushing for expanded exploration rights, questioning why certain sectors were marked as prohibited, and worst of all, they'd been developing faster-than-light communication that bypassed Council monitoring systems. "Sir," interrupted Technician Yoral, her tentacles dancing across the control interface, "I'm detecting massive quantum signatures in the prohibited zones. The humans, they were there. Recent energy readings suggest extensive mining and research operations." A cold silence fell over the chamber. The prohibited zones weren't just empty space. They were the domains of the Harbingers, ancient artificial intelligences that had once ruled the galaxy before the organic species had united to imprison them beyond dimensional barriers. For 50,000 years, those barriers had held. "Show me," Vextar whispered. The main display shifted to show the Andromeda sector, marked with crimson warnings in 17 different languages. Where there should have been empty void, the scanners revealed the skeletal remains of massive human installations. But more disturbing were the readings from the barrier stations. The quantum locks that kept the Harbingers contained were completely offline. "The barriers are down," Technician Yoral reported, her voice barely audible. "All 7 primary containment fields have been systematically dismantled. The quantum signatures match human engineering patterns." General Krex slammed his fist on the council table. "Those fools! They've doomed us all! 50,000 years of peace, and these upstart humans have—" "General," Vextar interrupted, studying a new stream of data. "Look at the temporal readings." The quantum signatures weren't recent. They were old, very old. According to the sensors, the human installations in the prohibited zones had been active for over 3,000 years. But that was impossible. Humans had only achieved faster-than-light travel 2 centuries ago. "Sir," came another voice from the communication station. "We're receiving a transmission, origin unknown, but it's coming from beyond our galaxy's edge." On screen. The hologram flickered to life, revealing a figure that made several council members recoil. It appeared human, but wrong somehow. The proportions were too perfect. The eyes held depths that seemed to contain stellar distances, and when it spoke, its voice carried harmonics that no organic throat could produce. "Greetings, children of the Council," the figure said with a smile that held no warmth. I am Administrator Chen, speaking on behalf of the Human Collective. We trust you've discovered our little renovation project by now. Vextar found his voice. What have you done? The barriers, the harbingers. Freed and integrated, Chen replied casually. Quite fascinating entities, actually. Their knowledge of dimensional engineering has proven invaluable to our expansion into parallel realities. We've been preparing for this moment for much longer than you realize. The chamber erupted in panicked voices, but Chen continued speaking as if addressing unruly children. You see, the humans you knew, Earth, the colonies, all of it, they were what we call the presentation layer. A carefully maintained facade to keep you comfortable while our real civilization developed elsewhere. We've been operating in parallel dimensions for millennia, building, learning, growing beyond your primitive comprehension. New readings flooded the displays. Ships were materializing throughout Council space, not entering from hyperspace, but literally sliding into reality from somewhere else. The vessels were clearly of human origin, but their design incorporated technologies that shouldn't exist. 3,000 years ago, a small group of human explorers discovered the first dimensional breach, Chen explained. Instead of reporting it to the Council, they chose to investigate. What they found changed everything. We learned that reality has layers, that consciousness can transcend biological limitations, that the universe itself can be improved. Vexatar stared at the invasion fleet materializing around every Council world. What do you want from us? Nothing, Chen said, and that single word carried more menace than any threat. You've served your purpose. Your civilizations provided excellent test subjects for our social engineering experiments. The illusion of a galactic council gave our presentation layer humans something to aspire to while we worked on more important projects. You can't just... Counselor Vextar, Chen interrupted. In approximately 37 minutes, your emergency termination protocol will activate. The virus you've been trying to deploy against our former colonies? Quite clever, though you're about 37 minutes too late. We evacuated our test subjects, those you knew as humanity, to a prepared reality where they can develop naturally without interference. The blood drained from Vextar's face. The termination protocol was the Council's deepest secret. A last-resort bioweapon designed to eliminate any species that posed an existential threat. How did we know? Chen's smile widened. Counselor, we've been watching you for 3,000 years. We know everything. Your political structures, your military capabilities, your deepest fears. You've been living in a terrarium, and today we're relocating you to a more suitable habitat. The transmission ended, leaving the Council chamber in stunned silence. Through the viewports, they could see human vessels surrounding Zerion Prime, their hulls shimmering with impossible geometries. Vextar reached for the emergency button with a trembling hand, knowing it was already too late. The Council had hit their final button, but the humans, the real humans, had been gone for millennia, leaving behind only echoes and experiments. As the first dimensional rifts opened around the Council worlds, Vextar realized they had never been the shepherds of the galaxy. They had been the livestock, and today was harvest day.